Okay, we got everybody back. Let's start with the sustainability group, which is Rod, Will, and whomever else you want to speak on behalf of your group.
Thanks, Eileen. Is there any way to get slide 28 up on the screen?
Yeah, bear with me 1 second.
I know.
So while he's doing that, what we were trying to do in our group is gain consensus into areas of agreement on these certain areas, and we believe that we have in our working group consensus with these bullet points here: strong support to keep the maritime districts in structure, continue significant triggers for increase in non-maritime, 15% additional non-maritime, support for contributing uses, restaurants and venues, mid-scale restaurants and WMI, aggressively support programs and funding for the Annapolis maritime industry, support for shared parking and consistent package ratios, and support for additional incentives for water access. We're still discussing, the amount of non-maritime that would be allowed for these various incentives, but it's encouraging, and we're making progress there. If you go to the next slide, 29. What we're really focused on in our group is where should this maximum non-maritime land with incentives. And as Eileen pointed out earlier in the discussion, it is somewhere between 45 and 55, and we need a little bit more discussion to come to a consensus on that. But in general, I believe that we've made real progress here today.
Great. And thank you so much. Let's see where everybody else is, then we'll figure out what our next step is. Why don't I go to Vic and Mike and your team?
Mike, I'll take it.
Yeah, because I was in and out. I missed a lot. So
okay, I think we're at more of a standstill. We got to talking about especially the WMM, Annapolis City Marina, being sort of the outlier because it's has a lot of office space, and it seems like they have some hard numbers that they really don't want to go below, and the residents and others have numbers that differ from that. So I think we're going to need some more discussion on that.
Did your group in general agree with let's put that slide back up, number 28, Julian, with the things that we have heard agreement on throughout the process?
Yeah, we didn't specifically talk about that slide again, but my feeling, unless somebody says something different, I feel like overall we've been in support of everything on that list. I think Bob Waldman was talking with me at the end about shared parking, and yes, I think we support shared parking, but there's got to be a way to get people to go to the shared parking. So for example, let's just say Annapolis City Marina is willing to share its parking lot with the residents of Eastport. It took us a while just to get the city to put a sign up that even said that there was parking available there. And so we've got to get people to push into that sort of thing, or else they're just going to park on the street like they always do, and they're going to park as close as they can to whatever it is they're using. So we've got to figure out a way to make that more accessible, put signage, whatever we have to do. I'll repeat again that Eastport has never really been in favor of permitted parking, mainly because of the boating industry, the sailors who come here and want to park for 2 or 3 days. And in general, the Eastport residents support that, and it's so I don't think that's a way that we can get people to move into shared parking. So we got to figure that out.
Okay, let's put up the other slide. I want to figure out from each group the areas where we need to do more work together. One is shared parking. On the issue of restaurants in WME, I'm assuming your group was not supportive of that, or is that an assumption that's not correct?
I think we didn't just, again, we didn't have enough time to get into that specifically, but what I'm hearing from other leaders in the community is that we're not in favor of restaurants in WME at this time.
Okay, and then in terms of, and I know there's a wide range, if you could just, how would you describe the range of opinions on incentives? And we may have to go a different route because we may not be able to get consensus on this. Were people mostly around 50? Were some people at 60? Were some people at 45? How would you describe the range, Vic?
I'd say it depends on who you talk to. It did range from 45 to 60, so we're still in a pretty big range.
Okay, great. And then the next group, and we can, let's go back to slide 28 and let's bring Susan Zellers and Scott Tinkler up.
Well, we have consensus on WMI, which I thought was, one small victory there of the 15% for triggers and an additional 5% for incentives. So that was WMI. We shut that door and moved on to WME. WME, there was not a full consensus on, other than keeping any restaurants in WME to the special exception process that's already in place, that's the best way for that to happen, of any size, any level, anything in WME, is leave it in the special exception so that more can weigh in and that sort of thing. WMM, we had a lot of discussions about the cap. Again, I guess we fall between 45 and 55 as everyone else does. Some of us felt strongly about the 50% being, the max, because then it becomes, is it maritime anymore if it goes over that? But there were some really good points also brought up about whether or not we would see some of those incentives happening. Why would they happen if it's only for an additional 5% in that level? So it might be that WMM, is a little bit different for incentive calculation.
Somebody has their.
I don't know. I need your opinion on that one.
Yeah.
Okay, Susan, I'm sorry. Could you say that again?
It just means we think that in WMM, it might be their incentives calculated differently than the other ones. And that's, I think, everything.
Great. Let's bring everybody up on the screen to the extent you can, so we can see the whole group. Okay, do we have everybody? I think we do. Let's see, we got everybody. So it looks like we have some of the areas of agreement. We are still, from what we heard when people were in their individual groups, we are still on track for, and it looks as though the certainly the issue of restaurants in WME, there is not a consensus on that. And then it sounds as though we still have a wide range of perspectives on the incentives. What we'll do is I'll get back with all the co-chairs and we'll see if we can narrow down what this basically see where the middle is. I'll be meeting with the co-chairs either later this week or early next week. And then we'll get back with all of you to try and get into the areas that need more evaluation, the shared parking, and figure out what we want to do, because we don't want to hold the whole task force up over the issue of WMM incentives. Let's figure out if we have an area where we'll actually probably go and get people's votes and see if we can come up with something that represents the majority. So as always, you all have done a terrific job. To the co-chairs, thank you for all your heavy lifting. We will be getting together this week. To everybody else, we will be getting in touch with you by next week to start to dig into some of these areas that need more discussion, particularly parking. And then we will also ask the civic groups to go out and try in the next couple of weeks and get their feedback and see where we are. So all terrific. Thank you very much.